This is James Lutton, delighted to join with Andy Beaman. Andy, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm very good. And yourself?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Very good indeed. Wanted to get you on today just to talk a little bit about your boxing journey. Been involved in a couple of fights, sparring a few of the guys over at Misfits. I'm going to start sort of, I say, top of the tree in terms of profile, and that's Darren Till. I know you sparred Darren in the build-up to his Misfits debut against Anthony Taylor. I'm going to start with the rumours that have come out the last couple of days in terms of Darren Till versus Jake Paul at Anfield. What do you make of that fight, first of all?
I mean, if that was to happen, that'd be unbelievable. In Liverpool as well, we've not seen anything from the influencer scene in our city. I do think that Liverpool would absolutely erupt. Um, as for the fight itself, I think that Jake Paul would be in for an extremely hard night against Darren Till, as would anyone at this point in time. So, yeah, I think it would be an exciting fight, and it would definitely bring a lot to Liverpool, especially if it was in Anfield. I'd be ringside, 100%.
Talk about your time sparring Darren. What was that like, and just how good was Darren?
Obviously, going into the spar, I was under the impression this guy's come from, MMA, top tier MMA, by the way. So, I mean, I didn't take anything away from him there. So I was just going to sort of just jab and move and sort of pick him off and use my ring craft to dance around, essentially. He did not let that happen. It was definitely like, I'd say the first round, I'd done okay. I did. Second round, I was getting a little bit, not a little bit tired as such, but I got in an awkward position and grabbed onto him. And obviously, again, he's a UFC fighter, so he's just spun me round and he hit me with a double left hand. And he put me on my ass. He did. He put me on my ass in sparring. And I just looked up at him and went, "You heavy-handed bastard." And obviously, we had a little laugh about it and we carried on. I wasn't fit at the time, but I would say that even if I was fit, I do think there was different levels in that ring on the day. Um, it was enjoyable. It was an experience, but one thing I will say is that I have never in my life been hit as hard as I was that day from Darren Till. Unbelievable power, and it just looks effortless as well.
Talks about his left hand. You mentioned they hit you with a double left. I've been down a rotunda a few times watching him in training and sparring, and that left hand, especially his left hook, that's always seems to be a weapon for him. In the fight against AT, it was the left uppercut that worked for him. Just how much of a weapon is that for him?
I mean, don't get me wrong, his lead hand as well as right hand, just as powerful, I would say. Maybe not just as powerful, but I mean, it's powerful still. The left hand definitely is weapon of choice. Like, I'll say this, watching him versus AT, I was shocked of how long AT survived. I really was. The amount of left hands that went straight through, that uppercut as well, unbelievable uppercut, and AT got back up from it. Like, wow, a lot of respect for AT in that. But yeah, unbelievable power in his left hand from Darren Till, that's for sure.
What about his ring IQ? He seemed to find the shots really well in terms of having a boxing brain against AT. Did you notice that in the gym?
One thing I will say is his IQ is brilliant. He controlled the rounds quite well, controlled the ring very well, took centre ring and come forward when he had to, but made sure that he pretty much stayed centre ring throughout the duration of the spar. Um, he was listening to instructions from his coach in the corner and done really well with that as well. I was hearing the instructions myself. Usually I'll listen and then I'll be keeping an eye out for what's to come. There was no time in between. It was instruction, bang, done. Instruction, bang, done. So this guy's somebody who obviously has fought at world level in the past in MMA on the UFC, but like just seeing him learn and seeing him adapt throughout the rounds while I was sparring him, don't get me wrong, it was scary to be, the person that he's doing this against, but at the same time, it was brilliant to see. So yeah, his ring craft's there, and I do believe that he's got, if he wants it, a very, very decent future in boxing.
So you spied quite a few of the guys over on the Misfits scene. In terms of Darren, just how far can he go? Is he levels above everyone else you spied?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of lads who I've sparred that are sort of on par or a little bit better than Darren, but none from the influencer scene at all. So obviously there are levels, and somebody who's come from a very competitive mixed martial arts background, and also what was it, Thai boxing he's come from as well. This is a guy who has literally lived and breathed fighting. Proper fighting though, the influencer side of things is great entertainment, and it's bringing people into the sport who weren't usually around that from a young age, and so there's always going to be levels. But I sparred with Chase Demore and Minicom recently. I'd say they've both improved massively since I last saw them fight. But in terms of would they do well against Darren Till, I wouldn't say so at all. Maybe in a few years, I don't know. But for now, I would say there's just too many levels between them and Darren Till. Darren Till being at the top, of course.
You mentioned obviously Chase Demore. He's the Misfits heavyweight champion. Let's talk about him. What was that like? What were the rounds like with Chase, and how good could he be?
Oh, right. Well, I sparred with Chase in Leeds. I think it was January last year. They had the Misfits event in Leeds. I think it was Misfits 12. And he asked if I could go up and spar with him in Leeds. I did. I made the journey. And back then, it was a very easy round for me. I was just very slow, and I was overweight at the time. I wasn't in camp for any sort of fight, so I found the rounds fairly easy. Obviously, I took gas off the pedal anyway because he was fighting Minicon, I believe, on that show. Or it might have been the show after. Either way, he had a fight coming up with Minicon, so I was like, okay, let's take our foot off a little bit and just see. Make sure I don't cut him or hurt him. However, this time around, before the Darren Till fight, he come up to the gym where I train in Birkenhead, hard hitters ABC, and yeah, the levels compared to last time I sparred him, definitely improving. Every single time I see him, he's talking about boxing more. He seems to understand the fundamentals of the sport a little bit more. His defense is tighter. His power is there. Chase Demore's got power, unbelievable power, by the way. But it's about getting the footwork involved as well. But it's all coming together, and I think that's brilliant. As for Minicon, though, his improvements are unbelievable because not only has he like improved in terms of his fundamentals of boxing, but his fitness side of things, the dedication, the commitment to the sport, he's definitely going places. He's in the cruiserweight tournament right now, and I do believe that he's got the potential to win it as well.
Let's go back to Saturday night in Manchester. You were there, I believe, and I want to talk a little bit about I want to say commotion between Idris Virgo and Ty Mitchell. Obviously, Ty had just fought Tommy Henchman, who you fought before, and then called out Idris. Idris has got the belt. He came in, a little bit of confrontation. I spoke to Idris, as you know, and he said that he felt disrespected. You know, Ty's had one fight, and he's calling out Idris when Idris has put the work and had four fights. If that fight were to happen, how do you see that going?
I've had a little chat with Idris about this. Certain things I won't disclose, obviously, but I think if Idris is to get this fight soon, right, I do believe that he could just get Ty Mitchell out of there. Got to remember, Ty's been out the game for what, 12 years, was it? That's his first fight back. He was looking a little rusty, a couple of sloppy shots within there against Tommy Hench, but he did have the freedom to be able to do that against Tommy. Um, I think Idris would beat him. I think if it's left later and Ty's allowed to have more fights, knocks off that ring rust, it could be a different story for Idris on the night. But yeah, I've told Idris that he should go for it now. If the fight's being offered, which I don't know whether you've seen, Mams Taylor made a tweet, Idris versus Ty with a little trophy next to it. So I think that's the fight Mams Taylor wants to make for it. I think Ty Mitchell wants the fight, and now Idris is putting videos out saying he's accepting the offer. So let's hope that it does happen sooner rather than later. But it's either way, two decent level professional boxers going head to head, and it will be a fight that I'll be looking forward to.
Just in terms of Idris, while we're talking about him, his first fight of Misfits was against AT, Anthony Taylor, and obviously AT went on and has done really, really well. He's been very successful in Misfits. With every fight that goes by, including the loss to Darren Till, does Idris Virgo's win against AT get better and better?
Um, I, I'd say yes. It's one for the books, isn't it? It's. But at the same time, I would say that AT's definitely advanced a lot since that fight. Um, his boxing abilities definitely come through. A lot of his fights, he done a lot of hugging, and he knows that as well. He's spoken publicly about it. So maybe it's just a case of over time, AT's developed a little bit better. But listen, Idris beat him fair and square, and I'll take nothing away from Idris. It was a good win, a good victory. So yeah, I'd say that that's one for the books, definitely in the in the Misfits Hall of Fame or whatever they've got going on at the moment. Maybe that fight will make it there.
And let's talk about yourself, and in terms of fighting, let's talk about your sparring. Um, Looking at your social media, you got a fight coming next week. Is that still on?
Yeah, I'm fighting on a show called Hybrid Boxing League. It is boxing rules, but in 4 ounce MMA gloves. It is professionally sanctioned by the ISKA, so it will be on BoxRec whether I win, lose, or draw. I will win, though. I will win. I've got like tomorrow, Friday, is my last day of camp proper. Then I think next week for Monday through till Wednesday, just a little tick over and talk about a little bit of a game plan. But I'm ready to go 100%.
Talk to me at this stage, obviously, coming into the last couple of days of your camp. What's your mindset like? Obviously, you're heading into, I'm assuming, the unknown. You mentioned there's, a bit of different rules for the 4 ounce gloves. What's your mindset at the moment? Is there nerves? Is that normal? Are you excited? Talk to me through your mindset currently.
I'm not nervous. Not about the fight at least. But yeah, 4 ounce gloves. I mean, I'm more worried about the potential of damage to the face and damage to the hands. I did damage my hand, not in my last fight against Tommy Hench, but the one prior to that. So even when I went in against Tommy Hench, my left hand was still a little bit tender. So yeah, obviously I've got that little concern about whether or not it might damage my hands. Also, the ring apparently is not going to be a standard four-sided ring. It's going to have like 7 sides. So that's new to me as well. I'll feel like a lot of my game plan has been a case of cutting people off, getting them in the corner, picking me shots, and guiding people into that corner is has always been a big part of all of my past fights. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that might be taken away from me, or I've got more corners to work with. So I'm gonna have to find out on the night. As for the fight though, I know I'm ready. I've been working on power shots, been working on tempo and speed, and my fitness is through the roof. I am fitter now and lighter now than I have been in years, so I'm definitely ready for this fight.
What does boxing do for you? You mentioned obviously you're fitter, you're lighter. What's it do for you in terms of mentally? Is it a tool that you use to really help yourself?
I mean, yeah, listen, I'm a father who's got 5 children. Sometimes things get stressful in the house. Being able to go to the gym, hit the bags for a little bit, you don't even need sparring or actual fighting really, but just the training aspect of it, being around them types of people in the gym, it is definitely something that helps with me. Sparring definitely helps, to be fair. Like you go in, maybe take a few shots, land a few shots, you go home with a smile on your face. If that was to be taken away from me, I would not be the person I am today. Definitely, it's helped me out a lot in the past as well because I came from like as a youngster, getting involved in fights on the street and stuff like that. And then one day, a doorman of all people, a doorman on a pub was like, "Yo, have you ever boxed before?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Hey, come down to my gym on Monday," and I did, and that's sort of what got me into the boxing. But it was just training and stuff back then, and never took it anywhere near as serious as I am now. Even though an older age, it's definitely something I'm taking more serious because I understand what can come from it, and I'm excited to see what the future holds as well.
You mentioned the future and what the future may hold for you. Talk to me a little bit about Misfits. Is that your goal? Is the aim to get to Misfits on that platform and box there?
Yeah, of course. I got back into the boxing side of things because of Misfits. I saw what it was doing well, I saw the entertainment value it brought. I saw how well they were looking after the fighters, and I thought, you know what, I want to be a part of that. I've always thought about maybe how well would they do on the big stage. I've had a couple of small hall, sort of fights, and I've done okay. Imagine being in front of tens of thousands of people live on the zone. Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know whether you know this, but last year I was actually on the rankings for the heavyweights in Misfits, ranked number 8. And after the loss that I had to Tommy Hench, I got removed off there, unfortunately. But there has been, Mams Taylor in the Twitter space stating that there are things coming for me in 2025, which is this year. So anytime between now and December 2025, you should see me on Misfits.
Anyone you got your eye on? I mean, there's a couple of heavyweights on Saturday night in terms of GK, Gareth Kelly and Kakat. Wasn't the best performance from both men, but there's in their first fight. Could GK be a target for yourself? Is it heavyweight you'll be campaigning at, or
I mean, listen, I'm happy to fight whoever. I've had conversations in the past with Mams and stuff, people who I'd like to fight are people like Greg Hardy, Hasim Rahman Jr. These are people who've come from a sort of pro background. And the reason for that is I've found over the course of the last 2 years, I've struggled to get matched for fights in the influencer space, even in like the small creator scene and stuff, because I've got a bit of experience. I had 8 white collar boxing fights back in the day, like we're talking like over 12 years ago now. And I won four and lost four, but people seem to be a little bit scared of that. And when I put my mind to something and put my energy into something, I give it 100%. So even the last like 2 years of training, I've progressed massively. So whoever Mams offers me, I'll say yes to. But one thing I would like right now, I think the rematch with Tommy Hench, if he's willing to come back up to heavyweight, I feel like redeeming that loss would be a massive thing to do for me, especially on the big stage. That's something I'd love to do.
And just finally, Andy, last question for me. I'd like to go full circle. We start with Darren Till. We're going to finish with Darren Till. Obviously, he was meant to fight Tommy Fury, but obviously Fury pulled out. Would you like to still see the Tommy Fury fight happen in the future for Darren Till?
Yes, I think just for the sake of how Tommy sort of acted in the whole situation. Now, not even Tommy really. It was John Fury asking Darren Till for a public apology and stuff, and his apology, by the way, was fantastic. It was brilliant. But yeah, that fight's got to happen. It's got to because that's what got the fans riled up for that event. Obviously, AT done a massive job in stepping in place of Tommy Fury, but it's not the fight the fans wanted. So yeah, I think that fight needs to happen in the future, and I think it's a very one-sided fight. Although Tommy Fury's got a little bit of a larger background in boxing, Darren Till's competitive side compared to Tommy Fury's is levels above. So I think that Darren Till could do the job as well on Tommy Fury, even if he has to kick him in the head.
Perfect. Andy, I want to thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
And yourself, mate. Thank you.
Top man.